Good.
And good morning. Welcome to the Monday, December 19th edition of the NBA Strategy Show. My name is Michael Lockey, and I am joined today with Matt Meiselman. Matt, good morning. How's it going?
Pretty good after the Lakers won by not enough. So good for us.
Yeah,
Nice game there.
so that's a great place to start. King LeBron did what some people say King LeBron does, won a close game, got a lot of work in. AD had, this night and a few more nights off. How did that game go for you, and how does it apply to today?
Yeah, I'm just checking what I tweeted because I want to see if I gave people adequate information. Our spreadsheet, which I was posting about throughout the day, was showing Wizards value from morning until the game tipped off, but we had a Bradley Beal questionable tag we were
Yeah, it was
looking
a
at.
decision point between how greedy we wanted to get, right? So I,
Yeah.
I was bugging you a little bit throughout the day. This was the Sundays are the only day we don't get together and shoot the shit. So I felt a little bit less prepared than usual, but we were trying to get greedy with the Bradley Beal news. We liked the +4 a decent amount if Beal was in. If Beal ended up being out, I was deciding where I thought the line could go, and did I want to how much I wanted to put on the 4 now versus wait versus get it before it moves, etc. So that's my
Yep.
recap for yesterday, and the way I got to 1-0.
Yeah, it was 2-0 for me with the Wolves, but it was like there was a very fine line being able to get that game. Um, but if you followed the spreadsheet like every moment of the day, it would have been obvious, but there was only a window of about 40 minutes or so where Minnesota looked like a good bet. Gobert got ruled out, the line moved, but we still didn't know about Russell, and at that point we needed him to play to have a Wolves bet. So once Timberwolves PR tweeted the starting lineup with Russell's name in it, it was about an hour after they tweeted the dinner menu for their beat writers, which they also do apparently. Timberwolves PR, I'm going to have to shut that off for a second, at least until the next Wolves game. But we have one today, so we're going to be finding out what the beat writers are eating again because we have Rudy Gobert. But yeah, we had that game, and then with the Wizards, it was either, like you said, good bet or really good bet. That's
Wolves
that's
PR right
Wolves
now with
PR.
Anthony Edwards highlights.
All right, I'm gonna take one pause here just to, you know what? Let's we'll keep going with the Lakers
Well,
here,
who's
but
questionable today for the Wolves? Is
Rudy
there?
Gobert. He's
All right,
I
yeah,
don't
we can't take it off today. Get out of here.
I
Keep
turned
going.
it off after the game started, but now I'm putting it back on.
Got it.
Okay, so we're gonna continue with the Lakers here, but Twitter
For
accounts to
anybody listening,
follow.
that's at TWolves_PR is
Yes,
the one of a few accounts we're going to start trying to curate to help us make actionable decisions.
and then we're gonna go with KL Chouinard, of course, because the Hawks have
Yes,
news today.
Hawks important.
These are
We
two
got
of our favorite Twitter accounts.
We got a new one for Phoenix.
I don't think so.
Not
I
yet.
should do some digging. Maybe we'll come up with an account. And is that it? So I've got Underdog NBA, of course, always those push notifications.
Yeah, big shout out to Underdog NBA. That's one of the things that really helped me have my footing in the ground for having news notifications and alerts. It's a really nice, simple way to have a lot of this aggregated for you. However, timing is everything. So Matt has reminded us that why wait until there's an aggregated source when you can get it from the actual source? And we're going to try our best to give credit to whatever Twitter accounts are specializing in this, and big shout outs to them as well.
So for the Wolves, if Rudy Gobert is a game time decision tonight, Wolves PR will tweet it maybe 3 or 4 seconds before Underdog does, and that can be relevant. But for the Hawks, we're waiting on a shoot around update probably, so that'll be more of there's more of a human element to that decision process. So for Murray and John Collins, we do want the Hawks beat writer.
Well, we're kind of wafting around a little bit.
Yeah, so. I just had to pause there to give our notifications.
There's a little bit of ADD on this show. Yeah. We have to be cognizant of Twitter updates just because that's such an actual part of our process.
So. And we're at 10:30 a.m. Stuff could start happening, so we're ready.
Yes.
Okay. So the Laker game, Beal played and the Wizards lost by 2. The line was 4. It was a good bet even if Beal didn't play based on our numbers, but it was an even better bet. We had a projected pick 'em with Beal in. And I think the game, there were some big runs in the game. Washington was up by as much as 8 in the third quarter. They were actually down by 13 or 15 at halftime. but ultimately it was a tie game at the end. I'm pretty happy with how that one went.
Literally, like I don't know how this doesn't happen to you more, and like I don't need the extra details, but like I literally was staying ready for this all evening, and then just had to use the bathroom, and like
That
missed it inside of 30 seconds, and like I just like I was so frustrated. I'm very thankful Mike G actually was able to get some because he's out of state right now, so I wasn't sure how accessible he would be, but he was able to get a little more. But like do you ever miss a thing? It's just so
Yes,
frustrating.
I missed the Warriors Pelicans rest game. It was like 3 weeks ago for going to the bathroom. That's like the one. Sometimes I bring my laptop in the bathroom.
I,
Not even
I
kidding.
get it, and sometimes I stay like with my phone,
Yeah.
like ready to hit bet just in case. Like I don't know, like
If I'm taking a shower, my phone will be on the sink next to the shower with the volume turned all the way up so that I can hear it go off even if I'm in the shower. I've made bets from yeah. So these are crazy things. I think we're gonna do a show at some point where we outline like how to not have to do that and which
right.
sites are the slowest where you can. But if you're someone who's facing limits, you're gonna want all the sites and being able to just get like $100 or $200 down at one slow site. If that's not sufficient for you, like it isn't for me, then you have to do more. But
Yep.
for the average person, you probably don't have to do that kind of thing. But it is, yeah, it is hard to stay ready, and the books are getting faster and
Yeah, they're
faster.
getting a little more efficient. I think that's fair to expect the competitors to get a little more efficient, aka the books,
Yeah,
just through time and not wanting to lose because they're obviously we have to expect them to play in an optimal strategy for their wallet. So so we've been a little bit all over the
yep.
place. Do you think the Atlanta or the Lakers situation is a more of a priority right now?
Let's do Lakers. So we weren't just talking about last night's Lakers game to victory lap. It was a little bit of that, but the better
We'll swoop in
reason,
a victory lap while we're at it.
just
But
a little,
yes,
yeah.
obviously LeBron played a lot of minutes. It was a close game. Austin Reeves rolled his ankle quite badly. I was really surprised he was able to come back in the game, but it was pretty clear as right away that he wasn't able to keep playing. So they pulled him out, brought him back to the locker room. So all that's going to be very relevant for today.
Yeah. So this game is very confusing like despite a strong intuition that those two guys are going to be out, Reeves and then LeBron, because we don't know what Phoenix is going to do. So right now we have a projected line of 12 with a current line across books at 9.5. I'm just checking to make sure that
Does that have LeBron in?
so it assumes everyone's in.
Okay,
Just for
so
everyone for just to like have this burned into everyone's brain of like this is how it works. If there's a name written on here, they're projected in. And you can always
okay.
click over to a tab on the
I'd rather just
spreadsheet.
ask you than click around though.
Yeah, okay. No, but for
But
other
yes,
people who are
yes,
not on a show
just
with
kidding.
me who are curious how this works, you can click onto any tab and see how many minutes the player is projected for. So
Gotcha.
if you were to scroll over to LAL, where are they? I'm not showing it on screen here. I'm just doing it off to the side. But LeBron is projected 34.5 minutes.
Yep.
Austin Reeves is at 30.4 minutes. If anyone is
Okay,
doing
so
that
they
in real
have
time.
both in.
Yep. Those guys are
Man,
not on the injury report right now. These are just our
I did
personal
see
feelings.
that thing. Okay, so all right, I'm sure you've rolled your ankle a few times in your
Yeah,
basketball
many
days.
many times.
How many times would you say that same night you'd be like, I intend to play tomorrow, and then you wake up that next morning and be like, I can't fucking
Yeah,
play
I don't think
tomorrow.
Reeves is playing.
Like there was an update that said he intends to play. I think that's bananas.
Well, the player often says that.
I just wanted to say that I saw that news piece and I disagreed with it, and I wanted to see if you agreed
Yeah.
with my take there.
So I totally agree with you, and I think tonight the Lakers could be without. So they're already without Davis. They're already without Juan Toscano Anderson, which normally is totally irrelevant, but given the next group of names I'm going to say, it might matter a little bit. So Davis and Juan Toscano Anderson are already hurt. I don't have Wenyen Gabriel on the list here, but he's up in the air. He hasn't been playing. Again, a guy who normally doesn't matter, but they also, I think, are going to be without Patrick Beverley, who is not. He's projected in right now. Like, these are more players who could move the line even more. So Beverley didn't play last night with a calf injury. He's currently projected in. We don't know anything about him right now. Beverly may not play. I think LeBron is probably out. I think Reeves is probably out. Dennis Schroeder, like, does he need to play back to backs at his age? He could be out too. I will.
Schroeder. I want to come back to him, but keep going.
Okay, I will say though, I think Beverly could return, and maybe it was calculated to hold him out last night to have him available for this game. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure, but it's going to mean Westbrook is going to play, and he's going to play a lot. Kendrick Nunn, who normally is not playing at all, and who is really bad, is going to play a lot. Troy Brown Jr., who's been losing minutes lately, mostly to Reeves and Lonnie Walker, is going to have to play a lot. And then Max Christie, who actually played a good amount of minutes, but he's like an undrafted rookie, he will play a lot. And this is a really, really bad group of players. Even without Booker and Ayton, if the Lakers are missing all of those players that I just named as questionable, we could still have the Suns projected double-digit favorites even without Booker and Ayton. So as far as what to do here, if Booker and or Ayton get ruled out, I'm not betting the Lakers. Like, if we got that right now, I'm doing nothing. Just do nothing. And then whatever the line drops
to. Those two would move it to roughly a fair line. But then that wouldn't account for the fact that we expect LeBron and Reeves to not play. Right. And that would move it back to like a bad bet. So
yeah,
I agree with that.
And because, well, okay, so the thing that you are generally thinking about, which I think most of the time is the right idea, but in this case I don't want to do it, is if we know that the line is going to move, bet it and then try to like take the EV of just having a line that the market has then moved off of. But in this case, if Booker and Ayton get ruled out, I don't know how much the line is actually going to move because they're already questionable. So like if Chris Paul were to get ruled out in addition to those guys, yes, bet as much as you can get on the Lakers. You can always bet back the other way.
But it's actually like somewhat interesting, right? Because now like it becomes Russell Westbrook and like nobody on one side.
Yeah.
And then so we talk about incentives quite a bit, right? So this Phoenix team, while they have been struggling, you know, maybe on one hand they might want to have their stars play so they could try to get a W. On their other hand, you know, would it shock me if Booker, Ayton, and even Paul get a night? Like
Phoenix does play tomorrow, by the way. They do. They play.
That?
Phoenix plays again tomorrow at home against the Wizards. So
yeah.
Booker just scored 58 points. Like, it's totally justifiable to say you had that amazing game. We'll let Chris Paul run the... I don't think they rule out everybody. I think that's off the table, but I think it would make a lot of sense for them to say, you just had this crazy game. Chris Paul's going to run the show tonight, and then maybe Chris Paul gets the night off tomorrow and Booker comes back. Like, they just stagger them. Because they don't need both guys to beat either of these teams. They're playing a home game versus a LeBron-less Lakers probably, and then they're playing a home game versus the Wizards. If Paul plays one night and Booker plays the other night, they should still win both games.
I think I agree with that. The thing that I keep circling back to, you showed me a bet one time. I think it was for a Golden State game, but the bet was something like either team to win by 30 or something.
It was when you were away. Mike G and I talked about it. I showed the bet slip on the show to recap
and
it.
I think you won because the other team blew the other team out or something.
No. It went the way I was expecting. The way the bet was phrased was weird, but it was the Pelicans-Warriors game that I talked about missing for going to the bathroom.
I can't explain why. That bet is the thing that keeps circling into my head. And like, this just feels like a game that's like 30 points at halftime. And like 80% of those, of that subset of times, 80% of the time it's the Suns and 20% of the time it's the Lakers. But like, obviously
the Lakers don't have a 20% chance to blow them out. The Lakers are not going to blow them out. Like, that would be a 1 in 100.
Of all the blowouts, there's 4 Suns blowouts and 1 Laker blowout.
I think it's 99 to 1. Okay, unless LeBron plays, then it's different.
Fair.
Like this Laker team that we're going to see tonight is going to be like their 8 worst players all playing. Because and it may not break that way, but I think LeBron, Beverly, Reeves, obviously AD are all not going to be playing. Those are the 4 best players on the Lakers. And Schroeder is their 5th best player, and he may be out too. So they may be missing their 5 best players. And the Lakers don't have depth. So it's Westbrook and a bunch of G League guys. And Westbrook himself is like a G League guy. And the Suns, I don't think Chris Paul is sitting. Mikal Bridges never sits. Like, the Suns are still a fine team, even without Booker and without Ayton. But as far as like a huge blowout, they are missing some important players too. Cam Payne is out, and Jock Landale, who is not anything special, but is semi-relevant, is also ruled out. So like when we talk about teams extending a lead in garbage time, we do care about those second unit players who can continue to extend the lead in garbage time. We're missing, like, Payne and Landale are two guys that would matter a lot for the Suns extending from like an 18-point lead to a 28-point lead in the fourth quarter. So I'm not going to be, I don't think I'm going to be betting any major alternate lines here. I think I just want to bet Phoenix to cover the regular line if LeBron's out.
All right. I think I agree with that. I just wanted to float that out there. I probably will not do that either. Okay. But
there are cases where we're going to want that. I just don't think this is it.
Super fair. It's something that, like, I wanted to get out of my head. And, okay. Is this a 1.5 manual adjustment for blowout?
Yeah. Do I already have that in there? I'm just trying to.
I'm just trying to see where your head's at.
Yep, already in there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's and I feel like we talked about this the opposite way recently, but, like, you know, sometimes just like these lines get scary when they're in double digits, right? And that's true for all sports. There's a certain point where you're just like, it takes a lot to cover, you know, 9 points in an NBA game, and there's a lot of ways the end game gets really weird, even when it's a 14-point game, right?
Yeah.
But, like, on the other hand, when we think it should end at 12 on average, then maybe we need to just suck it up and try to get the best bets we can.
Yep, but also I don't think there's the chances that this projection is what we have at tip-off are close to zero. Something is going to change. If Booker and Ayton, play and all the Lakers are out, we're going to have a projected line of like 17.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And, you know, there may be an extra manual adjustment needed, but maybe not. You know, who knows? Certainly if it ends up being projected at 17, which I agree is certainly possible, we're going to want a lot of -9 as much as we can. So
certainly. So let me just lay out to, like, conclude this game before we move on what I expect and what to do now. I think the most likely scenario is Booker doesn't play, but also LeBron and Reeves don't play. I think that's most likely.
Do you think those three cancel each other out roughly?
Roughly. I think it would actually benefit Phoenix slightly because LeBron and Reeves are going to have a compounding effect, and we're going to see a lot of Kendrick Nunn, and he's really awful, and we're going to see even more Westbrook. So I think that actually trading Booker for LeBron and Reeves is a benefit to Phoenix. So we have a projected line of like 13 in that case, and then it just becomes... So that's what I think is most likely. I'm not sure about Ayton. He could go either way. I think they want him back on the court, but I don't know what his health is. Booker feels like more of a rest game, preparing for him to play the second leg of the back-to-back tomorrow with Chris Paul sitting tomorrow. That's what I think is going on there. But as far as how to react when we get the news, I think if Booker and Ayton get ruled out, one or the other, I'm just waiting for the dust to settle. And then whatever
the best case scenario would be the Suns doing anything before the LeBron news gets what we think is much more likely than I'm guessing the market thinks of the LeBron.
If we get Booker and Ayton upgrades, we just take Phoenix and hope LeBron's out, like, for as much as you can. And if we get downgrades, then we just bet at the lowest number that's there and then hope LeBron's out.
Yeah, downgrades that let the line move before LeBron gets ruled out, that would be ideal, I think. Because I think it's reasonable that they don't play as well.
Yeah. And then if we get the Laker news first, remember, these are players that are not on the injury report. These are players that just we think are questionable.
Correct.
So we probably won't get an upgrade update from them. We'll only get a downgrade. Because if LeBron's gonna play, they'll probably just say nothing. Like, we may get LeBron expected to. LeBron will play the back-to-back.
Yes, if LeBron is questionable at any point, we can assume 95% out.
Right. It's the same thing that happened with SGA over the weekend. If LeBron gets downgraded, he's not playing.
I agree.
Yeah. So if we get LeBron downgraded, I'm just betting Phoenix.
I think.
Yeah.
All right. So are you doing anything with Reeves news? Like, let's say.
No, because the line won't move for him. It's just not going to move for him. Like, he matters a lot, but there's no way the market is going to react to him. It's similar to, like, Alex Caruso. It's similar to, like, if we ever get a Derek White thing. Like, these players that only we know are good. We haven't talked a lot about Austin Reeves, but he has a player rating that is... Like, he's rated the third best player on the Lakers. What is his number?
He definitely rolled his ankle last night.
1.9 player rating. Yeah, and he definitely got hurt last night. So Davis is a 5.2. LeBron is a 3. and Reeves is a 1.9, Beverly's a 0.8. But Kendrick Nunn is a negative 3.3, Max Christie is a negative 4.9, Troy Brown is a negative 2.3. Reeves is a lot better than these guys.
Yeah,
because he plays defense.
Players.
He actually plays defense. There aren't a lot of Lakers playing defense, and Reeves is one of the few. So, yeah, him being ruled out, I don't think the market will react, which is why I'm not going to, like, jump quickly if we get that. But he is important. So,
I
don't
this
think...
game because most likely the pieces trade off, and we still just end up with, like, 3 points to value almost no matter what. So, I think...
we could end up with more if we get the right combination, but we're going to get at least a 1-unit bet here, possibly higher. But I don't think you bet it yet. I think you wait for the first shoe to drop, and then you start getting in whatever way makes sense based on what we've just said.
All right. Anything else on that game, or are you ready to move on to Orlando, Atlanta?
We've got plenty of games. Yeah, let's move on.
All right. So I think this is the next most important game.
Yep.
You touched on it briefly last night in our private discussions. I got the impression, and I think I'm wrong here, but I got the impression DeJounte was downgraded to questionable.
He hasn't played in like 3 weeks.
So that's what I forgot. I forgot he's been out.
Yep.
So that you're saying that Q tag was an upgrade.
And he practiced yesterday. They had practice yesterday. Collins and Murray were both there, and then after practice they said questionable. This feels like they're probable. So
here's what. Let's just talk about my eye test. So Sundays are always weird for me because it's the only day we don't do the show.
Mm-hmm.
So you told me that you probably want some Atlanta -7. So I was interested. By the time I looked, it was already 8, right? So I was clearly late. I had missed whatever you were looking for. And then this morning, I look at 7.5. We go to start the show. It's down to 7. We're looking around. We don't find any news. We don't have any idea. You and I talked about what's going on, but I think it's an interesting discussion. So what do you think is going on with this line movement?
Okay, I think this is a really quick and simple one, and I want to just jump from it fast because we have 2 other significant games. We have a Luka Gobert game, but this game I think is really simple. When we got our Hawks news of upgrades, it was during the Orlando-Boston game. I think it was around halftime. So the Atlanta upgrades happened. The Hawks line moved from like 6.5, 7 to like 7.5, 8. And then the Magic beat the Celtics. That happened after. And Sports Insights or Action Network, like whatever, the Sports Insights page on Action Network tracks public betting percentage. I'm seeing 83% of the spread bets are on the Orlando Magic. And I think what happened is just the public started betting Orlando after that game. They're now on a 6-game winning streak. They beat the Celtics on the road in back-to-back games. Everyone's excited to bet on Orlando. The Hawks have been terrible or on and off terrible for a little while. Clint Capella's out. Most people probably didn't even notice that Collins and Murray got listed questionable or didn't assume it's an upgrade. So basically what happened is the market reacted to news and then the market reacted to the public. And it went back. So now we have the line at around 6.5, 7 again. And okay, we have to make bets on Oklahoma City right now. Hold on.
All right.
Pause. Yusuf Nurkic just got downgraded, and we are showing some value there already. See if we can get these in. This just came from Trailblazers PR, and Underdog has not tweeted it yet, so maybe we will have some time.
Betting on the Thunder.
And we're going to talk about them, too, momentarily. I wonder how long this is going to take. For any other site to get this. I mean, for Underdog to get it. There we go.
There it is.
This is why having the beat writers and the PR accounts and whatever is big, because...
Yeah, I already got some bets in, so...
And it's about to go off the board, I would think.
Yep, I assume so. Logged in. It wasn't logged into the third account, so we're probably going to lose that one, but...
Yeah, I got it on 2 accounts, and it's off the board. Well, no. Caesars is still... I'm looking at it on Caesars right now. I'm trying to figure out what rebound prop to bet here, but it's just Lillard, Simons, and Josh Hart. I don't think that's enough. Are the Blazers on the front end of the back? They are not, but...
It was a 3 out of 4, I think. I included them on my thing I sent you.
Okay. they're playing the Thunder though, so they can afford.
Yeah, that's why they would sit guys, right?
They're playing the Thunder again on Wednesday is their next game.
Yes, yeah, Thunder back to back.
But there's a day in between. We're gonna continue with this Hawks game
Right.
momentarily, but OKC plus
apologize
7.5.
for-
OKC plus 7.5. We're showing 2.5 points of value right now, and then Nurkic and Grant are questionable. They're worth about 1.5 each.
All right, so
that if both guys are out, we'll go from 2.5 points of value to like 5 points of value.
Sounds good. Any slow moving books? Try to get what you can in.
Yeah, I don't think this line is going to move that much yet. Just yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. Like Nurkic, just probable downgrade. Like he's not the biggest name on this team. I think like you'll be able to get a +7 or a 7.5 at like slightly higher juice. I don't think this is going to be a big deal yet.
All right.
We're going to come back to this game in a sec. So just to summarize the Hawks situation, the public is on the Magic, which basically is canceling out the line movement from the Murray and Collins upgrades. We only have a bet here if Murray plays. Collins is not as good. I'll just scroll over here a little bit. I mean, they're both
about 1.5.
Murray's worth 2, Collins 1.5 in a context where like we actually are thinking. Oh, and here we go. Murray and Collins are both at shoot around.
Shoot around.
Okay, so we can do this in real time. The Hawks are going to be a good bet tonight. We've got 3.8 points of value. Yeah, this is like a bit over a 1 unit bet for me. -7. There's a 6.5 at FanDuel. Probably will move shortly. Yeah. We got 2 of these today. This doesn't happen that often.
All right. Boom.
We'll just keep betting in real time. So we have a projected line at around 10.5. Collins and Murray are going to play, barring like
The last time we were looking at a John Collins shoot around, the exact words out of your mouth was, "This doesn't look like somebody that's going to play today. This current one looks like somebody that's going to play today."
Do you have video? Do you have video up? Are you watching them?
Your friend KL Schuenard has a slow motion John Collins 3-pointer.
He's shooting threes.
Yes.
Yeah, because last time he was shooting like just only elbow jumpers.
Yeah, he's shooting a corner 3 here, and this looks pretty good. So, do with that info what you wish.
He's playing. I mean, no one has to guess. He's playing. Murray's playing. I was gonna say bet the Hawks only once we get confirmation. This is confirmation.
This moves the odds up quite a bit. You probably had it 75-25 before this. It's probably 90-10 now, right? Is that fair?
Maybe even higher. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, they practiced yesterday. They were upgraded to questionable. They're at shoot around. We're gonna get the upgrade to probable is going to be in like the next 20 minutes. So I'd be really surprised if either guy sits. And yeah, so the public really likes Orlando. Atlanta is not a public favorite team right now. They have not been great lately. And we're showing value anyway, but it makes sense why. This is probably going to be the end of Orlando's winning streak. And there is a chance that some guys don't play tonight. Like on the Orlando side. I don't know that Banchero would ever get a rest game, but could you get like a mysterious Franz Wagner update? Like that wouldn't be that crazy. So,
they're in the middle of a 3 out of 4 and a second game of a back-to-back. Yeah, I mean, like obviously their team is quite young. I don't know, who would really qualify for a rest game, but
it's the only one who would qualify, who would matter. Normally it would be Wendell Carter, but he's already out. So it's Franz Wagner. That's the only guy where like if I see that, I'm adding. But for now, I think the fact that we have Murray and Collins upgraded is enough to just say the Hawks are a pretty good bet tonight.
Every Magic win, my dreams of Wembanyama being drivable just keep dying.
Yep. Yeah, they're not going to be in the bottom 3 records, but they could get lucky in the lottery. Who knows?
They were 5-20, and I was like, man, they're right there. They're one of the worst teams. It's great. Nope.
No. Yeah, their team rating is now significantly above a lot of the other tanking teams just because their players are playing well and their ratings have improved. Like Banchero's rating has gone up, and we kind of, with a rookie with this much of a pedigree, that only makes sense that would happen over the course of a season. Like his defense is improving, his offense has been good all year, and they did get Cole Anthony back. He was out for a while, so, and I think, I'm trying to think who else. Oh, Markelle Fultz also was out, and he's been playing. So like some of these guys are not bad players.
The pride of Philadelphia.
Yep. Okay, so things that have just happened, we're waiting on Phoenix LA for a bet. We're waiting for some news. The OKC at plus 7.5, definitely a bet. And when I update the sheet, it's gonna look potentially better, but we don't know for sure on Nurkic or Grant yet. We just have downgrades there. Grant was questionable. Nurkic just got downgraded to questionable. Hawks, we have a bet at -7, definitely. And I think FanDuel doesn't have that 6.5 anymore, but we have a bet at -7. And the market hasn't really moved yet. So if you're watching live or just after live, you may still be able to get Hawks -7. So that's those 3 games. I think we should go from here to Luka.
Do you think we've covered Portland OKC sufficiently? And I don't want to do that next, but you said 3 games. What was the third game? I guess
The Lakers game, the Thunder game, and the Hawks game.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can add a little more to OKC. We're showing it on screen. The fair line is 5.
Giddey and SGA are out, right?
Yeah, so this is funny. The team rating, and we got burned by this the other night. Although, like, the ratings accounted for it properly, which is why we didn't have a big position on Memphis. The team rating with SGA and Giddey out versus in is almost the same.
That's fascinating.
I don't know why we got some kind of update going on here. I'm going to switch tabs. It's because Giddey is terrible in the ratings. And it also is because Isaiah Joe has a positive player rating.
Fair enough.
And he might be the second best player on the Thunder. He's been amazing this year. So
right, understood. Yeah, I needed to say it out loud to make sure that I wasn't crazy.
So. The Thunder have a couple players who are not bad, who normally don't play a lot, but when SGA or Giddey would be out, they're going to play a lot. So that would mean Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams are the key 2 guys.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Those
veterans. Are the veterans. Yeah. But actually, so SGA, of course, is great, but Giddey is not that good yet. And
all right. I agree that game now feels more complete than it was before. I'm very excited. So
I have a negative adjustment on the Thunder, by the way. Normally we do a positive adjustment on the Thunder, but because like the 2 guys that we're adjusting for are out, Giddey and SGA, we're now negatively adjusting for Kenrich Williams and Isaiah Joe. And it's still showing value, and it's going to look even better if Grant and or Nurkic don't play. So yeah, that one's good.
Sounds good. All right. So let's move to Dallas, Minnesota. We were really ahead of some Luka news recently, and I think we kind of just thought that was a rest game. So is he on the?
Yeah.
Is he on the?
He is actually on the
formality.
Yeah. He is. Oh, you're saying like could he just still be listed questionable with a quad injury because
here's my thing: when you give a guy a rest game and then you go into the next game, is it a formality to list him questionable?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
I think the answer is yes. I think you kind of have to with a guy that moves the needle as much as Luka.
Yeah.
I feel like even if he's playing, they have to list him questionable. So, I guess do you have an assumption?
This has not been what's so yes, because this is not how it's gone in previous Luka rest games. The last time he rested before this, we got an update the next day. Luka not on injury report. Like we got it formally said he's not on the injury report. This quad thing could be a bigger deal than just a rest game. I think he probably will play, but it's not like a sure thing. That's my feel. Like I think it's sort of half of what you're saying and half not.
Do you think the league bribes these teams to try to put their best product out on Christmas Day? So my only thing would be
I hope he plays on Christmas because I already bet on them against the Lakers 3 months ago.
I'm trying to think a week ahead, right? And obviously I'm not trying to be like crazy conspiratorial, but like if there was a way like, hey, if Luka plays on Christmas, like you get some kind of bribe, right? Like and like is there a chance the team would like go the extra mile to like rest him leading up to that? Maybe I'm crazy.
I'm not gonna say definitely no, but I think very unlikely.
My contribution to this is like trying to think outside the box and like an owner or like like a manager or someone obscure, and like we can't forget that they have influence over these decisions sometimes. So I guess like I'm assuming he's playing, and I'm trying to poke holes in that.
Fair enough.
Where do you disagree with that?
I disagree with the conspiracy part.
Okay, that's fair. That's how deep I'm trying to poke into it, I suppose. So, like I said, I think he's playing.
Okay, but, it's an important game in the standings for them against Minnesota. It's a fellow bottom Western Conference, which is kind of funny to say with what the offseason moves from the Wolves were. But this could be a matchup that dictates like play-in seeding, who's in the top 6, who falls out of the playoffs outright. These teams are both 500, Mavericks and Wolves. They're both underperforming. I think both of them are heavily incentivized to get their best players on the court now, if at all possible.
Understood.
So, yeah, I think Luka's probably playing, but if the quad is actually bothering him, then I could see him being out.
Okay, so let's
much more likely Hardaway is out, I think, though, because that's a new injury.
Let's play the what if game.
Okay.
What if Luka's quad really is bothering you?
Yeah, I mean, Wolves are a good bet.
That you would.
Wolves are a great bet in that case, whether Gobert plays or not. If Luka's ruled out.
Do you think? Are you looking big picture at any futures?
I think he's dealing with some kind of bruise, like quad contusion. Doesn't feel like long-term injury.
Okay.
So not worried about that.
Just trying to get ready for Christmas. Who knows?
Yeah. I think he's probably playing tonight, and I think it's mostly a formality, but he's probably a bit sore. And if he wakes up and he's still sore today, like they may just be like one more game. I think it's very likely that's where we're at.
Alrighty, sounds good. So that seems, I would say it's at least 80% he plays, and I think
yeah, I'll put it around 85%. Gobert, Gobert, I don't know, because Gobert missed last night's game and the game before. And he didn't make it all the way to game time decision. He got ruled out like 2 hours before tip-off. Gobert has an actual ankle injury. And is it possible that they, with the back-to-back in mind from last night to tonight, knowing that a Bulls game is not as important as a Mavericks game, because it's a conference opponent, like we were just saying, could they have just been like, well, let's give Gobert one more day, because with the ankle issue, it's going to be really hard for him to play 2 nights in a row. Anyway, we'll save him for the more important game, which is tonight's game. I think that's actually my lean. Like, I think Luka is 80-85% to play. I think Gobert is like 55-60% to play. And I think Hardaway is below 50%.
And the market has the line at Mavericks minus 3.5.
3.5 or 4? Are we 3.5?
I'm saying 3.5 currently.
Yeah, 3.5 basically everywhere. So if we got Gobert in confirmation, I think it's worth getting some money on Minnesota, because worst case it's like a neutral bet or like a slightly positive bet.
I'm seeing a 3 also on bet online. So.
Okay, but let's just say even at 3, we'll give it like the worst example. If Gobert is in, and you bet Minnesota plus 3 for let's say half a unit or a unit, and then only Hardaway sits, we still have a pretty good bet on Minnesota. Like, it's not a bad bet at all. We'd have a fair line at like Minnesota plus 1 in that case. But you have a lot more upside if for some reason Luka doesn't go. So if we get a Gobert upgrade, I'm getting some money in on Minnesota.
Sounds good.
If we get a Luka downgrade of any kind, I'm also definitely doing something with Minnesota. Like, as much as possible, I mean. Luka downgrade, Luka's worth 6.5 points to the spread.
Yeah, this version of Luka's worth 6.5 points, and anytime we get a line moving 6.5 points, we're going to be getting as much as we can and figuring out the rest later.
Yep. So Luka, like, even if Luka's out and Gobert plays, we have a fair line of like Minnesota minus 4, and they're currently 3.5 point underdogs. So we'd have 7.5 points of value. So if Luka gets ruled out, as much as you possibly can bet on the Wolves. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it did, for sure. And then even if Gobert doesn't play, it's still a good bet. And then you might be betting back the other way at that point. We'll see where the line moves to. But Luka ruled out, definite Minnesota immediately as much as possible. Gobert upgrade, I'm going with a Minnesota bet too, but more of like a moderate one. And that's really it. Like, I guess we can get... If we get Luka upgraded to upgraded to probable, I'm not doing anything, because Dallas still won't be a good bet there unless Gobert gets ruled out. So I don't think you do anything if Luka gets upgraded. And then I think the same is sort of the Gobert getting ruled out first situation. I don't even think we really need to touch it that much, because Gobert, the Wolves have made a habit of giving their updates much later in the day. Like, I would make a bet right now we find out about Luka before we find out about Gobert with very high level of confidence. Especially with the Wolves being on a back-to-back, that's going to create an even bigger delay. Like, we're going to find out about the Mavericks side of this game first. I'm like 95% sure about that. So we only really have to talk about what to react to with the Mavericks for now. And I think Mavericks upgrades, just wait. Mavericks downgrades, and specifically Luka, then bet Minnesota and hope that... Why is he tweeting again that they're at shoot around? is the third time. Luka upgrade, do nothing. Luka downgrade, bet Minnesota. That's where we're at right now for this game. And then we'll worry about the rest later. Obviously, people can follow me on Twitter and see what I'm doing. But yeah, we're just watching Luka first.
Sounds good. Totally agree. I like the game plan there. A couple big pieces that are moving, so hopefully we can stay ready and act accordingly. What is there any other games on the docket that has a big priority? Which one do you think is next?
Charlotte, Sacramento. We have potential for a lot of guys to be out. So the problem here is we're not showing value on Sacramento at the moment. So it's going to take a lot to create a Kings bet because
I think I saw it 10 earlier. Is it still 10?
Yeah, and we have the fair line at 8. So if like just Terry Rozier got ruled out and he didn't play the second half last night, he actually got injured. I think we basically are assuming he's not playing second night of a back-to-back after actually getting hurt. They had to fly from Denver to Sacramento. Hornets are like borderline tanking at this point. What are your LaMelo odds? What's that?
What are your LaMelo odds?
So LaMelo's worth less than normal because we're on the fringes of blowout territory already. So it's weird because there's a compounding effect between Rozier and LaMelo and Hayward, who also could be out. Like these are all guys that have been hurt recently. There's a compounding effect, but also the further you get into blowout territory, the less each individual point is going to matter to the spread. Like the less each individual player point is going to matter to the point spread. Because I'm going to start baking in manual adjustments the further we get into garbage time.
Hayward could definitely be included on this list as well. And so I'm viewing the market just having Rozier out. And I think it's fair to say Rozier out.
I don't think the market has that already. I think they have him questionable, but I think the Kings are just a little overvalued as a starting
Well, I'm saying,
point.
all right, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that with the line at 10, and we think Rozier's out a high percentage, I'm just factoring him out and moving the line to 10.
Yep.
That's just what I'm doing, right? Like that's my shortcut. So then there's a variable of LaMelo and to a lesser degree Hayward.
Yes.
And is it crazy for PJ Washington to get a night off?
He's like the worst rated player on the team though. So
all right, so
that
would
make them better.
That not to happen.
That would make them better. Well, I don't think there's much that would create a Kings bet. I think we're much more interested in a game total under.
Okay, all right. So
like if Hayward, LaMelo, and Rozier were out, just to like clarify this, if all of those guys are out, we're only going to have a fair line of like Kings minus 13, which is a bet, but it's nothing crazy.
I agree.
Like it's not a huge priority compared to the total, which if all those guys were out could come down by like 10 points.
I'm seeing 241.5. Obviously that's a massive total.
If you take LaMelo and Rozier out, I think the total drops by at least 8 points. Like the pace of the game has to crater.
All right, so would that mostly come at the expense of the Hornets side?
Yeah, so Hornets team total would be
team total a little bit better.
If we got a LaMelo and Rozier downgrade, I'd be looking game total and Hornets team total under, and then like King spread would be okay. King spread would be okay. What do you have for? Are you looking at Hornets team total now?
Yeah, I'm seeing 116. I think I agree. That would be my biggest priority.
That could drop to like 111 if both of their starting guards are out.
I think if both LaMelo, Rozier, and if you add in any sort of Hayward type players, I think that team total would plummet, and I would be looking to get aggressive there.
And PJ Washington, even though he's bad, is another guy where his impact is more towards the over. Like the guys they're going to replace PJ Washington with would be like young players who are more defensive oriented. Like the guy I'm thinking of in particular is Kai Jones. Okay. There's not a lot of offensive skill there. He's like a really athletic defensive. Is JT
Thor in the rotation right now?
He'll play if those guys are out too. Yeah. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about him. Do you know anything about him? What's your JT Thor take?
I thought he was reasonably defensive, but
I think you're probably right.
He has a minus 3.3 offensive rating and a 0.1 negative defensive rating.
Yep.
Am I reading that right?
Yeah, and then Mark Williams is more of the same. I don't know who that is. I think he was good in college, but I don't know who that is. It's not like I'm not connecting that to a face.
I just wanted to think out loud. So obviously, there's a version of reality where it's like Mason Plumlee, Kelly Oubre, Jalen McDaniels, and like a bunch of dudes, right? Like,
Although
and
a Mason Plumlee rest game would be bad for the under. He's defense
yes,
only.
yes, we need him to anchor the defense and slow the
But
game down for sure.
but he's nowhere near as impactful as LaMelo. Like the totals in Hornets games with LaMelo's return, the scoring has been just insane. Like LaMelo is sprinting up and down the court on every possession. So
Yes.
if just Rozier gets ruled out, I'm probably not doing anything. I think maybe you could throw like a little bit on the under at 241.5, but I'm like half unit at most. Like I'm not very excited about it. But if we got a Rozier and LaMelo, then it gets
agree.
really interesting.
If it's two or more, and hopefully they all come together, right? Because we're attacking the game total. Hopefully,
I think they will.
Is there a Hornets beat reporter that we should get?
I'm not aware of one, but I'm going to start scouting it out.
Sounds good. I like that plan. So make sure you follow at Preaching Sense on Matt's Twitter account, so that if we find a Hornets beat reporter, we can make sure to retweet it and get that under your nose.
I will say though, LaMelo is not like that is important and that is a way to do it. But in this particular case, none of these players are priced into the line, which is why I think it was important to clarify when you said like Rozier is already being accounted for by the market.
Okay.
He's not actually, because if he were, the total would have dropped. So the market is not aware of any of what we're talking about. The total hasn't moved, or it's actually gone up a point.
Are you saying the market thinks Rozier in, LaMelo in, and Kings as is? Like,
yeah, they have the Kings at -10 when we're projecting -8, just because the Kings are a little overvalued and the Hornets are a little undervalued. That's enough to create the market distinction. But
okay.
because the total hasn't moved, I think the market is just assuming, like, not assuming anything. What I'm saying is I think you can just bet the under now and hedge it or cash out if you have that as a possibility later. And just lose some small amount of VIG later if none of what I'm saying comes to fruition. That's what I'm going to do. Like, I'm totally comfortable just betting the under now. And you know what? I'll make this real. Let's just bet the under now. What lines do we have? Cool. So I'm logging into Caesars. They've got a 241.5. What is Timberwolves PR tweeting about?
Find out. Effective field goal percentage.
Okay. It's not the Cajun chicken and whatever pasta again.
That thing did sound pretty good, actually.
Yeah, they have some good meals up in Minnesota. So strange. Yeah, like I think it's worth getting a bit on the under 241.5 now. I'm going 1.5 units now. And I will.
Because you're gonna move it. What about the?
I'll just hedge it like later if I want. It's not. I don't think it can really go up from here.
Do you think under 116's in play right now?
Yeah, but I think because the Hornets are undervalued by what we think, like I'm less excited about that one. But I think I'm gonna.
So you're saying you think the. No, that's not. That's in contradict what I was going to say.
I think you can do both. I'm not going to make this too confusing. That would be unnecessarily confusing.
What I was trying to say is we think the fair line is 8 with everybody in.
Yeah.
Which means on a 241 total, it would only be like a 118 to 1 or like a 117 to 127 total.
Right. So okay, yeah,
a little different.
116.5 to like 124.5. Yeah. So the distinction is if everyone on the Hornets plays, I think the fair game total is just the fair game total. We're assuming the market is efficient, but an under at 116 is a negative EV bet unless players are out. But I think you can do that one because Rozier is probably out. So I think they're the same. I think you can do both. I'm going to do both. Like a unit and a half or whatever. Anyone can handle this however way they want because if you can cash these out, if you're at a site where cash outs get you your full money back, you should probably maximize the game under and the Hornets team total under. Because worst case scenario, you can just cash out and get your money back if the news doesn't happen. And they will drop a bit when Rozier gets ruled out, which I think is like 90%. And then your worst case becomes just you cash out for a slight profit even. So if you're at a site like Bet365 or I think MGM, and there's probably some other ones where the cash out values will either be full or even positive when the line changes, I would just bet it now. The market has no idea about possible LaMelo or Hayward rest. And these teams This team just played in Denver in the high altitude environment and had a surprisingly close game against the Nuggets. And I think it's actually better for us that they lost, because every game they lose makes it increasingly more likely they're just going to go tank.
Yep.
Like they're the opposite of playoff teams where, like for the Mavericks or for Minnesota or whatever, a win makes resting more likely because like we got one, we can take a night off. For the Hornets, it's like, oh, we lost again, let's keep losing because
it's a game of resources and understanding the incentives of the resources being used.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And the trajectory of the team changes as they win or lose. And with the Hornets, like they probably were trying to make the playoffs at the beginning of the year, and now like every time they lose, it's getting more and more bleak for them, and it makes more and more sense for them to not play their important players on back-to-backs, especially guys who have injury track records like Rozier, who literally missed the second half last night, LaMelo, who's already had 2 stints away from the team this year with ankle injuries, Hayward, who is always injured. Like, these guys don't need to play tonight. So I don't know that they're going to be out, but there's no downside to making the bets now. Like, this is a unique case of that. So I'm already betting it. Hornets team total under at 116, game total under at 241.5.
I went with a half unit now and looked to add a little more later, but I agree with the theory. I don't have access to the cash out sites, so I got to play it a little differently. But all right, so I agree with all of that. Anything else you want to look at?
Just a couple other things to call out. For one, I'm really surprised that Mitchell played against the Mavericks, also because second leg of back-to-back, then followed by Utah coming to town. Like, if there's a game that matters, I think Mitchell's going to care about this one. And they still played him against Dallas, even though...
Interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like, so I really thought he was not going to play against the Mavericks on Saturday. I just
especially after the Luka one. No, I agree with that.
Yeah, that was weird.
We got the Luka news, and then I agree with you that, and I remember you actually made a tweet that said Mitchell likely playing down. I was like, yeah, that makes a ton. But I didn't even factor in that they had a home game against Utah coming up. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, again, I don't know what revenge factors truly. It's so different from player to player. But like in a sport like basketball, where it's a game of incentives, where like you can either pass, shoot, or dribble or whatever, it's like certain guys I think are just going to shoot a little bit more often than pass in these examples. And like I'm not doing anything with that. I'm just conceptually saying it out loud.
So the one thing I do want to do something with is Lauri Markkanen, because Kelly Olynyk is questionable. So Olynyk getting ruled out is already going to be a bump to Lauri Markkanen.
In which way?
He's going to score. He's going to have to shoot more, like a little bit more. And we've got a significant revenge game for him. I don't know how much he cares, but...
they traded for each other, right?
Yeah, that was the trade.
So is Sexton paying this game or no?
No, he's out.
That'd be a shame.
Yeah. But with Markkanen, like, I wouldn't just bet this because of revenge. I wouldn't. But if you can time this where Olynyk gets ruled out, Olynyk is dealing with an ankle injury.
That's fascinating. I agree. I think Markkanen, if every time he catches the ball, he's going to shoot first. And
maybe. But he's going to look better anyway, just if Olynyk isn't there. The other thing about Olynyk not playing is it's going to mean Walker Kessler is in the starting lineup, and that just means more usage. Kessler doesn't shoot the ball.
Yes.
He doesn't dribble the ball. He's like around the rim trying to like clean up garbage. He plays really good defense, but like the usage rate for everyone on the team should go up a little if Olynyk isn't playing. And Markkanen in particular, because it's going to be like him and Olynyk do a lot of the same things, spacing the floor. And now Markkanen is going to have all of that room with Kessler being under the basket. So I think there's already a bump for Markkanen if Olynyk gets rolled out. Plus, he may shoot more because he's in Cleveland. Like, he might. So I'm not betting this one just for revenge, but
sensitive, yeah.
But like if Olynyk's not there, then I like it. So there's no real bet for this game, but
20.5 for Markkanen for points.
I'm looking at Stochastic right now. They have him projected 20.9. Like, it's not a plus EV bet right now, but you could give him a bump for revenge. I'm not doing that, but you definitely will have to give him a bump if Olynyk gets rolled out. So I'm going to try to make some Markkanen bets if Olynyk gets rolled out.
And then you're going to parlay him with Mitchell.
Maybe. I haven't thought about that.
Mostly a troll. All right, so microscopic value on the Sixers? Is there any surprise rest options for Toronto? I think they're
Mhm.
playing the 3rd out of 4 game. Wouldn't shock me if somebody got the night off, but
Yeah.
they certainly need a win. Somebody would need the night off, right? Not like a gimme.
Yes,
Anything on
that's
that game?
no, that's well said. Like no one's resting here. Gary Trent is injured. We already have him projected out.
Yeah, I think
But
he's out already.
I could definitely see Siakam or Van Vliet or Barnes sitting just because they had a tough game last night. So I'm not doing anything now, but this is one to watch because it is the second leg of a back-to-back, and someone could have an injury that pops up. Like Toronto is not going to. Yes, these are huge games for them right now to not fall below the playoff picture. They're 13 and 17. They've been really bad lately. These games are very, very important for them. But like if someone's got a bad ankle, they're not going to make them play through that. Just it's game 32 of the season. Game 31 of the season.
Part of this is just trying to think. Okay, there is a small amount of value on Philly right now. So if there's news, how would I react?
Right.
Like if clearly there's like things like Embiid and Harden would probably move things enough to make it positive for Toronto. But which one's more likely of these two? I think Toronto is much more likely.
Yeah,
for guys
Philly
to sit,
rest
so.
seems very unlikely. Their last
I
game
agree
was
with
also
that.
a home game. They haven't played since Saturday. It was a home game versus the Warriors. They're coming off a loss. Oh, no, sorry, they won that game. Toronto is coming off a loss to the Warriors. So Toronto is flying in from Canada to Philly. Not the easiest trip. And their starters that are there are taking even more of a burden because Anunoby and Trent are already out. So Siakam and Van Vliet are the two main ones to watch. Barnes only has a player rating of 0.5, so he matters, but not as much. Siakam's a 2.6, Van Vliet is a 3.9.
Yep.
So if either of them were to get ruled out, we have at least a 1-unit bet on Philly. Because Toronto's pretty thin right now. Like the bench, normally we don't care as much about the Toronto starters because the bench is pretty good. But the bench guys are already starting now because Trent and Anunoby aren't there. Right. So the guys that normally would fill in and are pretty good players, Malachi Flynn is like a slight negative and Chris Boucher is a slight positive. I think both of them are starting already, or if they're not, they're already playing pretty big minutes.
Right.
So if we get a key player ruled out now, we're going to like more Kem Birch, more Delano Banton, more Juancho Hernan-Gomez. It's a pretty significant downgrade from Siakam and Van Vliet. So if we get either of those guys ruled out, I think Philly moves to like -10 or something, if not higher.
Yep. And if that happens, I think we'll like this 7.5, and
Yep.
we'll act accordingly.
Yep.
Anything on the Milwaukee Pelicans game? I'm seeing +1, but it's not looking like enough value for me. Any news you're looking out in that game or anything you think?
No, I mean, Giannis sat last game. He's not on the injury report. Middleton is already out. Holiday is fine. I think the Pelicans are normal. Yeah, that's probably a stay away entirely. I think we've basically talked about every game now.
The loser bowl, Spurs and Rockets.
Oh, you're right. We forgot. I totally missed that one. That one may be a bet too. We have like.
It depends on what the tanking order is.
Well, there's only one player on the injury report right now. It's Keldon Johnson. But we're showing.
You need to get a little more creative than that in this matchup.
You're right. Like we could get weird stuff. I think that is fair.
So what is the current line?
So are there 4.5s available? Because that's pretty interesting.
I'm seeing 4.
MGM is a 4.5 at -115. Okay, so it's basically 4. If Keldon plays, we have a Spurs bet. Not a huge one, but it'd be like a little over 2 points of value.
Something.
Yeah, Pirtle is playing, which is different from that other Spurs Rockets game. But
Right.
like, could Pirtle wind up not playing because this game is a game they want to lose, and the Spurs just had to come back from Mexico City?
Right.
Although Mexico City to Houston is not that far, I don't think. And it was it was 2 days ago. It shouldn't really matter. It was 2 days ago. It's not a back-to-back.
You're right.
It's a shorter trip than Toronto to Philadelphia. I'm pretty confident in that one. We're just doing geography on this show from now on. That's all we care about. Milwaukee to Indiana, Mexico to Texas. But I think Pirtle getting ruled out is possible, but all that would do is make us have a no bet because our edge is on the San Antonio side. And the same is true for Keldon Johnson. Like him getting ruled out doesn't give us anything. And then on the Houston side, like we had Kevin Porter Jr. questionable the last time these teams played. I think if someone on Houston were going to be out, we would have already gotten like downgraded to questionable for one of them, most likely. But Is it possible we find out something today? For sure. So like,
So
but the problem is most players on Houston don't matter. They're all
no,
bad.
just because I was curious, it's
Yeah.
actually really far from Mexico City to Houston.
How far?
It's 1,500 kilometers, which I don't have my conversions offhand, but it's a 17-hour drive.
Okay. Is that more than Philly to Toronto? That's probably about the same. Let's just.
I'm not going to take the time to look that up.
Okay,
yet, but
that's okay.
In
I
either
don't
case,
blame you.
it was not. It was pretty relevant, right? It's not just
Yeah.
an easy drive around the corner. So yeah, long-winded way of saying there's a little bit of Spurs value if Keldon Johnson's in. But with that in mind, there's all sorts of weird stuff that could happen. Who are the relevant Rockets like that you would be acting upon if they are surprise ruled out?
It's really just Kevin Porter Jr. because the Rockets' only good player is Tari Eason, and he's a rookie and he's not gonna rest. Like
Agreed.
they're not gonna, right?
So
Why-
Kevin Porter is the only relevant piece that you
Yeah.
think has a shot of being surprise ruled out.
He's worth like 1.5 or 2 points to the spread. Yeah.
All right.
Like if
So,
Eric
like I
Gordon,
said-
if Eric Gordon gets ruled out, that makes the Rockets better. Like the most of these players are like that. So yeah, like
Fascinating.
although Garrison Matthews, who I think has by far the best, Garrison Matthews is a 3.4 player rating, which I might have to send Nate Silver an email and be like, "What
I
are
think
you?"
he's out.
He's already out,
Yeah, I think
and he
I
doesn't
got that
play
news.
anyway. So like there are a couple guys on the Rockets who I think they know would make the team better, so they just don't play them. Jayshawn Tate, who hasn't played this year basically, and Garrison Matthews. Yeah, they're just like, we're not going to play you. And instead, we're going to play veteran Eric Gordon, who makes us worse. I think they know what they're doing. I think they're
Yep.
pretty smart about their tanking.
So I feel like that covers most of today.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a bit of moving parts. I think that we should end up with a lot of action, even more than we've already got.
Yeah, we've got
Is there
plenty
anything
already.
you want to look ahead to tomorrow?
Well,
you want to be ready. There's a 5-game slate. There's
There
a
are
few
some-
teams on back-to-backs.
it's Phoenix, but we're not going to get lines very early. The books have gotten more cautious with when they post lines for these back-to-back games. Like Phoenix, I don't know if we'll see a line till tomorrow morning. So,
Utah also on a back-to-back.
oh yeah, that's interesting. So, okay, Kelly Olynyk is not playing tonight. I this is 0% now. I'm really glad you brought this up because I'm gonna just make my marketing bets now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go. There's a 5% chance Kelly Olynyk is playing tonight. So hold on, I'm gonna log a couple marketing bets and then I'm gonna tell you why. Building the suspense. You can do everyone who's now waiting can do the same. I think Markkanen should be projected around like 23 or 24 points tonight. So 20.5 is not like I'm betting all my money or anything like that, but I'm going to do like quarter to half unit on Markkanen. Okay. This is the most exciting part of the show we've ever had. All right, let me know when you're
Yeah.
ready to go back to this. I'm good.
One more thing for me. Gonna find that Mitchell over to parlay with it.
I don't think I'm doing that, but I do have some marketing. We are doing a little bit of narrative
I was
street.
only able to get a third of a unit on marketing, so I feel
Okay.
better about this.
This entire thing is narrative based.
Yes.
Okay. So Kelly Olynyk rolled
Don't
his
try this at
ankle.
home, kids. Go ahead.
Kelly Olynyk rolled his ankle in the last game that Utah had in Milwaukee. Tonight they're playing in Cleveland, so we've got a bit of a boost for Markkanen, possible revenge spot, whatever. Tomorrow night the Jazz are traveling to Detroit. Tomorrow is Kelly Olynyk's game.
Oh, revenge game against
Yeah.
Detroit, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't think
baby.
Olynyk's playing tonight.
Who else was in that trade? Was there
Bojan
anybody on the-
Bogdanovic.
So we got a Bogdanovic versus Olynyk
Yeah.
revenge game. Is Bogey been playing?
Yeah. He
Yeah, looks like
he beat Utah in Utah almost single-handed. Well, it was Alec Burks mostly, but the Jazz lost at home to
It's
the
always
Pistons
Alec
already.
Burks.
Yeah.
I feel like the Pistons haven't played in 2 weeks. Am I crazy?
I feel like we haven't cared about their games in a while.
That is factual.
Yeah. Cuz I don't know what's going on. But yeah, like which game is Olynyk going to play? The game in Cleveland or the game in Detroit?
Yeah,
The game in Detroit.
Yeah,
and he's
this
dealing
is-
with an injury. Like, why would they do this to him? I mean, I may be totally off base here. I'm leaving a 5 to 10% chance open that I'm just totally wrong about this.
No,
but
this is what you do,
he
man.
actually got hurt. Like, he came back in the game, but his ankle was bothering him, and he is listed questionable right now.
I
If-
agree with all
if-
that. And
if
I,
Walker
as
Kessler-
somebody has rolled their ankle, the next morning hurts way
Right.
worse than the night before, and so be it.
So more relevant than Markkanen's revenge game, which I do think is slightly relevant, would be Walker Kessler props if we see those, just because he's going to play more if Olynyk out. And Vanderbilt would be the same. I don't see either of those guys, though. But if they show up later, I would be interested.
Alrighty.
But yeah,
So
bit of
a little bit
Markkanen
of a
for
look
now.
ahead tomorrow. What do you
Yep.
think? What do you think the spread looks like in that game?
The
how
Utah
does-
game?
Yeah, like if what is the Utah team rating? What is the Detroit team rating?
It's
I'll
Utah's around 4 or 3.5 or 4. Detroit is like a -6. Utah will be
Detroit's
like 3.
probably well rested.
Well rested Detroit, not well rested Utah. The Jazz will be like -3. If the Jazz open it like Pick'em, then we're gonna have a bet. But I think they'll open it like -3, which is about fair.
Sounds good.
And I think Phoenix is hard to know right now because we have no idea who's even playing tonight. So to predict tomorrow, yeah, it's kind of hard.
Sounds good. All right.
So,
I think
yeah, that's it.
that should get us quite a bit covered for today and a little bit of a look ahead tomorrow. Make sure you tune in. We'll be back at some 10:30-ish a.m. time to get blazing tomorrow. And thanks for tuning in. Any closing thoughts, Matt?
Now, just stay tuned to the Twitter account because we've got another chaotic day.
Yeah, it's going to be a chaotic day, but looking forward to